Hello to all you lovers out there, and welcome to another episode of LoveWorks with Juan and G, sponsored by New York Life.
Shout out to New York Life.
Yes.
Now today we are going to sit down with a group of couples and we're going to talk about what does it mean to really be a power couple.
What does that mean?
You hear the term all the time. Sometimes people refer to us as such. Barack and Michelle, Will and Jada. What does this term power couple really mean? Well, today we're going to sit down with a group of people and we're going to hash it all out. Hello to all you lovers out there.
People always asking us what's the tea. It ain't no tea, baby, can't you see? Loving me, loving you, loving we. Love works with Juan and G.
It ain't no tea, baby.
What's the tea?
It ain't no tea, baby.
What's the tea?
It ain't no tea, baby.
What's the tea?
It ain't no tea.
Today, we want to talk about this term power couple. It's always been something I hate when people call us a power couple. Like, there go the power couple, because I automatically feel like there's an unsurmountable amount of pressure to be this power couple. I really don't know what that is. Is it Will and Jada? Is it Barack? Is it Oprah and Stedman? I really don't know. And the purpose of us doing this is, for one, to bring a group of couples together who pretty much share the ultimate goal of spending a life together, right? And whatever that means in between is what it means. But we feel like it's power in bringing couples together. We feel like we can learn from one another. So we're gonna start that off by reading some of you guys' responses to what a power couple is.
A power couple is two people coming together in collaboration who embody the true definition of partnership. They push each other toward their individual goals and work as a unit to accomplish them. They define their own success and realize their standard of achievement is defined by them.
Y'all know this because we're personal friends and everything. It's like we want children in the next 2 years. So we talk about that, like what does that look like for us and our dynamic? And so it's funny because we have 2 dogs, and I think that's practice. Because he'll tell me sometimes, like I'm always telling one of our dogs is very needy. And he's always like, stop telling her to just go away from you, just give her some love. And for me, I'm not the affectionate one in our relationship. So it's for me, it's a learning process of learning how to like have somebody else like all up under you, because he's like that too. And so part of it, the shared goal is, okay, we want to have kids, but what are we working on now to make sure that when we do have children, that we're both ready?
I think that takes us a perfect segue, having a plan. So when we got together, I had just moved to Atlanta the year prior, so I was 26, he was 31. And we hot and heavy. I'm at his house every day. He owned his own place. He had a car. I didn't.
Suspended
I had an apartment, suspended license. So we were like really totally on opposite ends of the spectrum. I'm catching the bus to his house every day. 3 months later, broke my lease. I moved into his house, and it never felt like mine. Right. But then he came to me and said, I don't remember how he said it, but he made the suggestion of us getting a joint account to pay bills out of. I made significantly less than he did. So what we agreed upon was we totaled all the bills, the rent, the mortgage, all the bills, spending money for when we went out together, personal bill, all of that, and then we divided it based upon our income. And so I paid a percentage that was congruent with what I made, and he paid the rest.
Yeah.
And so that was our plan. So I want to hear from you all. Do you have similar plans, or are you separate? Because we talk to couples all the time, and they're like, your account, my account, 50-50, even though we're in relation together.
So
go ahead.
we're trying to get there. It's just uncomfortable for me, being that he's more, higher tax bracket than I am. It's more comfortable a higher tax bracket.
You feel like he's more financially,
and he's more free flowing in his spending for me to commit to that. We're jumping that hurdle right now.
And we literally just had this conversation yesterday. So it's so funny that, growing up, I saw my mother always getting things. And now seeing her in retirement, like those same patterns, I'm afraid of being 64 years old doing the same things that she's doing. And so I have to recognize that that's a weakness of mine. And so knowing that that's his strength, I have to dial back my ego and say, hey, you know what? you're good at that.
You talked about how what you saw growing up. You know, that makes me want to say it's important that we set a good legacy in place for our children. And y'all talking about having children. So you want your children to have a healthy relationship with money and with budgets and with working with a partner. In order to do that, y'all have to be on the same page. Okay? Now being on the same page doesn't necessarily mean that you agree with each other. Being on the same page does not mean that you necessarily have to agree with each other. I might be on the same page with my wife. I'm on paragraph 1, she's on paragraph 3, but we're on the same page. Okay? That's where accountability and trust come into play.
So how many of you guys have the difference of one is the spender, one is the saver? Y'all do have that balance. No. Or how many of y'all in a relationship, but both of y'all are spenders?
I think we are both spenders. But it depends. No, wait.
I need to turn into the newlywed show. It depends on what you're spending the money on. That's what it is.
I think it depends on what you put the priority on.
I'm more the spender, and I was the one. We've been in a relationship almost 8 years now, right? So I was the one too that didn't know how to handle finances properly, you know, in a certain way. And he was the one that was more frugal. He knew how to save. He knows how to budget. And even though we did set it up, the same thing that you all was talking about. Well, hey, you know what? I'm like, you know what? I did eventually had to say, this is not my strong suit. I got a lot of other strong things that I'm strong in, but this is not it, right? So I gave that to him. However, when we talk about education and having patience and being open-minded, it's not that you just hand it over, but then you allow them to teach you. Like, how do we do this? How do we do this together? How do you do this? Show me what it is, you know what I'm saying? So then that you understand and get better. So now I'm better.
I'm gonna spend. I just know that that's me. That's not gonna just magically disappear just because of the fact that he's gonna take care of that. But I know that there's a certain commitment to our household that we have to make sure that we are doing jointly together. And then this other little money, I can play with that and do whatever I want to do with that.
You might be the one that handles all of the bills. Okay? That person has to trust you unconditionally that you're not doing anything that's going to put the relationship in a bad situation. All right? One way that you can do that from an accountability standpoint is let them know what's going on. You know, here's a list of all the accounts we have. Here's all the passwords to the online, banking information. Feel free to check it anytime because I want you to know that I'm not doing anything that's going to put us in jeopardy.
Your time is your time. You're a busy person, always on the lookout for the next opportunity. Sure, maybe up until now, not every job was what it seemed. 9 to 5s, nights and weekends. You're driven to succeed, but you're not quite sure what that means. But what if there was a way to work on your own terms, doing good for others while doing good for yourself, getting out what you put in, being a part of something bigger, the way you always pictured it? Because moving forward is what drives you, and we can help you get there. See why becoming an agent with New York Life could be right for you and everything you do.
So our definition and where we want to flow from tonight is one sentence that we believe lays a perfect foundation for your relationship. And it touches on communication, accountability, trust, intimacy, connectedness, a sense of security, all the elements that are necessary and crucial to a successful union, we feel is encompassed in this one small sentence. And it's a couple that continuously creates individual and shared goals and diligently works together to achieve them. And so it's important that you have your own goals, you maintain your own identity, your individual, because you can get lost in the image of the couple.
Yeah.
You can get sucked into the persona of your partner and lose yourself. So it's important that you as an individual, first and foremost, have your own set of goals individually. And then as a unit, set short-term and long-term goals and work together. You're not in this alone. A partnership means two. You're working in tandem, you're working collectively to achieve all of the goals. So just because it's your goal individually doesn't mean you don't need my help.
Right.
Doesn't mean you can't bounce ideas off me. Doesn't mean you're not working in a silo. So that one sentence encompasses trust.
Everything.
When your communication.
Her communication style is different from mine. She's a water sign, I'm a fire sign, so I'm constantly like trying to just like right now deal with it, you know, and she's more kind of smooth, and sometimes she's more emotional than I even am. You know what I mean? So me learning how to tone myself down to adjust to her communication style, and you gotta be willing to learn and correct yourself when you're wrong, and not think that everything that you're doing is right because it's the way you feel about it.
When we in a relationship, we take things like, oh, it must be me, it must be something going on with me, but it's not always you, it's just them growing and experiencing something else. It don't have to do with you, but I think it's about being supported through the process and understanding your partner is evolving and growing in a different way that you might not be growing, but that's about unconditional love too. So really learning how to love your partner unconditionally.
He's all about stability. He's like, nah, we good. We can just go to the movies. Right. I'm cool. I'm like, nah, let's go to Jamaica.
That's about right. That's about right.
So that is one thing that we discussed, because weirdly in the last week, with everything coming into play, we discussed our finances with the household and getting a joint account, and, you know, making all that work out.
You also need to constantly educate yourself on your partner, because you change constantly throughout the relationship, and a lot of times that's why relationships break down, because we're changing and we're evolving, and the other partner is not catching up, and they're not understanding the changes they're going through.
But when I hear education, you know, we put so much effort into our career and going to school and bachelor's degrees and constantly recertifying to, you know, excel in our career, but we're not doing that for our relationships at all. We're not doing it for our relationships at all, because we're not, but that's the one thing that we want the most. Most of the time at the end of the day, people will say they will give up their career for love, but we're not investing money or any time, energy into learning about how do I make this relationship work? What is the education it's going to take? Do we go to a workshop together? Do we get a coach? You know, do we do whatever? And I think that's really important for us to invest in.
So I want to kind of incorporate Scotty into this conversation because I think it's important. So when some of the couples come to you to put together a financial plan, what's your first piece of advice?
My first piece of advice is to tell them to know what your long-term goals are.
Define long-term.
Long-term is really anything over 5 to 10 years. Okay? And the reason why I say long-term, because short-term, everybody has those things. I know what I want to have happen in the next 5 years with my career or with my family, things like that. But I don't really think about longer than that. You know, and a lot of times what I deal with is retirement. It happens where one person, I'll ask that question, what are both your retirement goals? What are your long-term goals? And one will say, well, I want to jet set across the country for the next 10 years when I retire. And the other say, well, I just want to be in an RV and just, go to the National State Park.
And most of us don't talk about that. I think we might have loosely talked. Every day is a retirement for us.
You want to go to Miami.
You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people don't talk about that. What is retirement for you?
You don't talk about it. So what happens is one person is usually aggressively saving towards that goal. And it's usually the person that has the jet set mentality, because they know they're going to have to fund that lifestyle. Whereas the other person that just wants to buy an RV, Winnebago, and drive around like, I don't need a lot of money. And so there's a yin and a yang, and they're not in sync. They don't know what each other wants. I'm not saying that you have to be on, with the same goals, but you got to know what each other wants. So when I talk to couples about financial security, that's the number one thing I start with. What do you guys want long term? Because that's going to determine what we do in the short term to help make sure we have enough money to finance the long term.
Thank you guys. I did want to say that. I was going to get that out before the end of this. But it's basically helping us get to that next level, especially with being new homeowners together and just starting that whole life. We do have 2 dogs. We do have 2 dogs, so those are our sons, and we've been having a lot of discussions about our future in 10 years. Actually, that was pretty cool. When you said that, I was like, yo, that's really what we've been talking about. Like, we're talking about that because we don't want to be the average statistic. So we're trying to work hard and eventually purchased Juan and G's counseling classes.
No, but you know, I commend you guys because you guys are, I mean, the fact that you're sitting in this room and you felt that it was important enough to be in this environment is commendable. So, because a lot of couples don't do that. We don't need to be around. We know what we're doing, yada, yada. No, we don't know what we're doing.
I was going to say something about dysfunction. You know, it's funny how we always put this negative connotation on dysfunction. Dysfunction is the opportunity for you to rise to a challenge.
The problems are going to happen. The contrast is going to occur. But if we can focus on what our long-term goals are, it will help alleviate some of the pressures of when contrast happens in the relationship, because it's bound to happen.
Absolutely. And what it does is it forces you to interact with each other. It forces you to communicate. It forces you to, you don't have to necessarily address the issue at this moment, but you gotta be in each other's face. You gotta talk, we do it with our coworkers all the time. I can work with you, but I don't like you.
Yeah.
Same.
And we coworkers.
Right, and same concept within a relationship. Yeah. You know, it don't have to be peaches and cream all the time, because it won't be. But having those goals, having those short-term and long-term goals, and mid-term goals, forces you to entrust. For me, this has been a discussion about financial empowerment for a power couple, but for me, it all rests on a foundation of trust. A trust, first and foremost, of yourself, like I said earlier, a trust of your partner, and then a trust of everyone else in God.
Yes, come on, God.
Whoever your God is.
Right. It's about the spiritual connection.
Whatever your God is.
It's about the spiritual connection.
Absolutely.
And so that concludes our little event of what it means to be a power couple. Our conversation is to be a power couple.
But it doesn't conclude
that includes us, but we're going to leave you with our sponsor again. Please, let's give a round of applause for him even creating this event, helping us do this. But we really thought it was important to bring you guys together to talk about this, and we're going to continue to do these events. And it's also important because we don't like to talk about money a lot and death and all of those different things, because this guy has been very helpful for us in our financial planning and our insurance and everything. So we wanted to give him the opportunity to just kind of share with you guys what he has taught us. So, Scotty.
I just want to close about power couples, you know, and I'll talk about my specific example. You know, my wife and I have been married 15 years. We've got 4 children, a 9-year-old, 6-year-old, 4-year-old, and a 5-month-old. Okay? So not only we are power couples. Hey, we're a power couple and we're a tired couple. Okay? So we got all that. But when I think about power couples, in my mind I think about what we're trying to achieve together. Okay? But I also have to think about what happens if I'm not here to help achieve what we have set for each other, or if she's not here. Do I not want to have those same things happen for my family? So a power couple to me is one that not only thinks about now and the future, but also says, I love you enough that if I died, I still want you to be empowered. I still want our family to be empowered. I want our children to be empowered. And that means that I'm gonna do what it takes to ensure that that security is there. So a power couple to me is all encompassing. You know, ask yourself, when y'all get home, say if I died tonight, would you still want to achieve the same goals? You know, because there could be goals that they have, that your partner has, that says, you know, in 10 years I want to have a business. I want to have this specific business in place. Well, if I'm not here in 10 years, I still want you to have that business because I love you that much. Right. That's important to me. So you got to think about what's important to your partner and how you would feel if they weren't able to achieve those goals because you weren't there to provide financially whatever assistance you're helping with. All right? So power couple is it's a strong word, but it's an action word. It's not something that you can just say. Power means you're actually doing work. You know, you're actually out there pushing something, lifting something, using your muscles, exercising your muscles to make something happen.
Amen.
That was such a good conversation.
I'm saying. I was not expecting. We touched on so many things: trust, communication, education. But I think one thing that really stuck out to me was finances. Finances was one of the most important topics that every couple had in common and wanted more information about.
Everybody want to get their money up to be a power couple. We all know that. But there are so many things that make a power couple. We're going to continue this conversation.
Absolutely.
If you would like to sponsor an episode of LoveWorks with Juan and G, please write us booking@juanandg.com, booking@juanandg.com.
Love you all.
Peace.
People always asking us what's the tea. It ain't no tea, baby, can't you see? Loving me, loving